All right. We're going live a little early again today. The goal is obviously to get in an hour and a half to 2 hours of writing. All of my videos are of me with some goofy face on it. I'm like, do I really talk and I'm like I have a goofy face the whole time? I don't get it. I just don't get it. So there we are. So I'm gonna get in some writing today. Hopefully people will be on to chat, and we can go from there. I guess I'm writing. Yes, I'm writing over here. All right, we're getting some words in. I'm going to get some writing in today. Several things, hopefully. Yesterday was not much of a writing day. I guess the guy's singing. There's this guy that walks, older guy, walks through the neighborhood all the time, every day, for like hours, and he has like one of those weight vests on. And every now and then he'll just drop down and do like 25 push-ups, and he's got his ear thing in, so he's always talking to somebody. He's always making deals. He's one of these guys. You just see him all of a sudden. You're like, who's talking? And he's just like, you know what? Buy low, sell high, plant your corn early, like all kinds of tips. I guess he's listening to music because as he's walking by, he's like pointing at the house. What the hell are you doing? But then he starts singing, and then he starts doing a hand thing. I'm like, I don't know what are you listening to? The Blues Brothers? We're gonna do the whole dance. That guy, I'm like all day. He's walking through the neighborhood. Like I'll see him at the top of the neighborhood, which from our house to the top of the neighborhood is about a mile. 350 houses, I think, in this development, and he is on every street, just wandering around talking to himself or to somebody on the phone making deals. Chad Lusky in the house. Afternoon, Armand. Taking a break from my own project. Maybe I should stream on Twitch again while writing this book. It helps me stay focused. It definitely helps you stay focused. I definitely agree with that. I'm doing the Twitch and the YouTube live together now through StreamYard, which is fun. So then I hopefully catch everybody, and then it's easier because then I don't have to upload it from Twitch onto the YouTube because it's already there. But I get lot of rewatches on both every day, which is fun, which is part of the fun, right? The fun part. I'm just gonna keep saying the word fun because it's fun. I think it definitely helps me to to be able to write this way, not walk this way, write this way. A week or so ago, I recommended a show called Deputy. I'm redacting that recommendation. The show has some agendas that completely ruin it. Really? Huh. That is interesting. Now I'm going to watch it. You know what? Now you're forcing me to watch the damn thing. Thanks. My new favorite show, Deputy. I was watching. I watched the first episode of Desert Law last night, and basically that is a lot of uh, Arizona people, drug addicts. Basically, it's in the desert, and there's a ton of drug addicts that they keep arresting. Just stick with River's Edge. I saw it was on there, but then my I had an awful day yesterday, and then last night I was like, I'm going to watch this. But then my wife called, and something happened yesterday. She was very upset all day, so she kept calling me. So I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to get involved in a movie, and then half an hour later she's just going to call, which is what kept happening. Never heard of Desert Law. Sounds cool though, Chess. It's reality TV. I watched Desert Law, Ozark Law, Alaska State Troopers. It's good. Ozark Law was very good. We're into the second season of that now. It's like Cops, but we learn more about the officers, I guess you could say. Desert Law. So far, we learned that there are a reality TV. Oh no, yeah. I mean, it's good because it's good. I like some of the officers that they're doing. I'm not a big reality TV person either, but those shows I like because they're unscripted. They're just kind of following cops around. It's like the show Cops, but better, I think. And on someone like Alaska State Troopers, I think there's like 9 seasons, so there's like, oh good, I got a shit ton of these to watch. The only reality TV show I like is Duck Dynasty. I couldn't get into that. I watched the first 3-4 episodes when it first came out, and I was like, nah, I'm not interested. And I guess they rebooted it with whoever's still alive and whatnot. I'm not really a big. I don't watch like any of that. Anytime a commercial comes, I'm like, really? Survivor season 412? This is ridiculous. Like, I don't care where these housewives are. They're awful people. Stuff like that. I'm working on the sequel to the sequel of Dying Days. Chaz says, my My wife loves the shows like Alone, where they have to survive the mountains by building a hut and making fires and hunting. I don't like those either. I like those. See, I'm on the same page where I love those shows. I like the Mountain Men. I watch those. I watch all the fishing ones, all the tuna fishers, the Last Captain. I watch all of those shows. The East Harbor Heroes about the unloading container ships in Nova Scotia. I like all those shows. It's all stuff that I would never in a million years do. I am not getting off the couch to go fishing. I'm not getting off the couch to learn how to take containers off of a massive ship. But I will watch those. But yeah, Alone is pretty good. I'm way behind on that one. And then I watch Expedition Unknown, Expedition X, Expedition Files. I watch all those history shows, which is funny because it's like the History Channel. I don't think there's much history on it anymore, but I guess they're making money. So sounds like they took the MTV route. Yeah, I was like, hey, we can make more money by doing these types of shows rather than all the ghost shows and stuff. They basically took the Sci-Fi Channel, the original Sci-Fi Channel model, without all the movies. They were like all the you know when they were doing the Ghost Hunters and all those. They're like, let's do all these. They have that one annoying guy that does it. What's his name? Zach Zach Baggins or whatever. His show's on all the time. I don't watch that. Plus, History Channel, A and E, oh, they're all. It's like 57 channels are all under one banner now. So a couple weeks ago on Destination X, they haunted house, and they had Jack Osborne was the special guest on. So they do a lot of that crap. MTV, I would watch Catfish every week, and now that they took that off the air, now I guess I'll never watch MTV, so they lose my business. It's funny because every time I watch that, and then every commercial, I'm like, these shows all look horrible. I'm like, I keep forgetting I am not the target demographic to watch any show on here. Then they just recently killed MTV completely. No, it's still a viable network, but they're not doing any more videos. I think they got rid of MTV 3, 4, and 5 or something like that. VH1 Classic, all of those I think are now all gone. They're not none of their shows are supposedly playing except for MTV2, I believe, are playing any videos. Which is crazy that musicians are still making videos. But I guess they're mostly like, yeah, let's make a video and put it on YouTube. Let's monetize us another way since we're all losing money. There's Mr. Frank. Chaz says it is crazy. Rolling Stones had a really cool one last year, but a lot of those bands are just putting out lyric videos with some graphics. Chad Lusky says, "What's up, Fishman?" Exploding the Fishman. So many great choices for exploding animal books for Frank. Yeah, like there's some, I don't know what my wife was watching, because like I go to bed at like 11 o'clock and read for a while and then go to sleep. She comes in at like 2 in the morning, so she's watching all kinds of Discovery Channel things, all kinds of stuff. And there's something like an older show, I don't know which one that she watches, then it happens to be on MTV at night. So the next day when I turn the television on, a lot of times it's on MTV and they're playing, it's like some video hour or something. And I'm like, I don't know what group this is. I don't know what the song is. I don't know why they're dancing like that. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. It makes no sense. None sense. I'm almost to the next page on this, though, which is making me very happy. We should all just boycott any and all music recorded in the last 20 years. Down with bad music. I would go back on anything to like anything past like 1990 for me. Although there are some a few things. What did I just listen to this morning? I'll always hit on Spotify. I'll hit the new music thing, and there was, you know, who has a new song every now and then has a new song? The band Helix from Canada. It's like something like living in the 80s or something. Go back to the 80s. Something about the 80s is their new single. And it's funny because the guy's voice is very gravelly now. It's the same guy. It's the same singer. But he just like in his 60s now. And I was like, yeah, that's not bad. I'll add it to my list. I was on a Driving and Crying. I like those couple songs from them. Chaz is more like maybe post 94. I'm not boycotting those first few Pumpkins albums or Nirvana. I feel like I've heard those a billion times and I'm just not interested. I was never a big Soundgarden fan either. I dated a girl who was a huge Soundgarden fan. Like that's all she wanted to listen to, and I'm like, yeah, no, no, we're gonna listen to other stuff besides this garbage. Probably why I don't like him because I've heard it 50 billion times. I've been listening to Rat lately. Interesting. I listened to some Judas Priest this morning while I did some writing. Miss Frank says I liked Soundgarden. Wait, so much. I guess not so much Smashing Pumpkins. Pumpkins. Dancing Pumpkins was all right. I always wondered listening to them. I'm like, he was supposedly such a huge metalhead, but I don't hear a lot of that. Miss Frank says I liked Alice in Chains, not so much Pearl Jam. Yeah, the uh, the mumbling lyrics for Nirvana and Pearl Jam didn't really do it for me. Alice in Chains I like because of the just the guitar sound. Give Gish a spin, Mr. Frank. Give it 10 or 12 spins. Not more than 12 though, Frank. Do not spin that thing more than 12 times. That's how you hurt yourself. That's how you pull a hamstring or a shoulder out. I listened to some old Judas Priest, some 1970s Judas Priest as I was writing because somebody had posted and said that Painkiller was their best album. And I'm like, no. Good album. I like that they got heavy again, but not their best album. Of course, I think his number two was like Turbo. I'm like you were either old, way too. I mean, young. You are either way too young to remember Judas Priest in their heyday, or you're old, but you've done so many drugs listening to Judas Priest you don't even remember. WTF is Hish? The Pumpkins' first album, obviously. Frank, did you see the new round of Sebastian Bach wondering why Skid Row won't get back together? Triumph is doing it. Rush is doing it. We should do it. I'm like, enough. Mr. Frank says Painkiller was the first Judas Priest album I bought. Really? That's interesting. The first I bought was Unleashed in the East, the live one, with all of these songs from the song from the 70s. That's a great live album. That's Nikki Sixx's fault. Well, yeah, most things are. And then Screaming for Vengeance, I think, came out right after I had bought that album, and then I was hooked. Then I bought every old album, and then as each new album came out, I was in. Watching all the Judas Priest videos too. It's funny. I go on Spotify and you start from the newest album, and I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, oh, good. We're 20 something years into this, and I don't want to listen to anything they've put out in like the last 30 years. I'm just not interested. Oh, they did a concept album. No, that sounds awful. Oh, he wasn't in the band for these two albums. That sounds awful. Like, oh, they remastered, you know, uh, you know, whatever. I'm not interested. I want to hear the original. Let me just start at the bottom. Rockarola. Yeah, I didn't like anything off of that one. All right, let me get to and then I just was like off and running at that point. Because I can't listen to anything that's new that I don't know, because then it takes me out of writing and where I am, you know. I was so shallow as a young metalhead, I couldn't get behind short hair. I think that's why I hated Priest. But for some reason, I gave Dirk Schneider a pass. How can you not give Udo a pass? I mean, it's the same. It's the same principle there. Man, except we're just great. I mean, back when Udo was in the band. Those albums from the 80s are just amazing. And some of the 70s stuff also. Pretty good. That's another band I really haven't listened. I definitely, once Udo left the band and they all started fighting and stuff, I was like, man, I'm not listening to that anymore. But there was a point where I stopped listening to a lot of bands. So I listened to it all. I tried to listen to everything. I was just like, it was metal to me. It was just, if it had a guitar in it, I was in. Didn't matter if it was friggin' Poison or Motley Crue or Cinderella or something, because that's where all the girls were. But then I'm also like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to Judas Priest. I'm gonna listen to Accept. I'm gonna listen to fucking Lawnmower Death. I'm gonna listen to Slayer. I'm gonna listen to Creator, Napalm Death. I'm gonna listen to all of it. All of it. I just posted a new video up about zine culture, about my life in the 90s as a 20 something and a writer and putting out zines and shit. I would hope you would all watch it at some point. That'll make me happy. Anyway, I'm trying to get this, trying to just get this page done, which I'm almost there. Not that you can see it, you have to take my word for it. All right, next page. Next page. I didn't even eat dinner last night. That's what a shitty day I had yesterday. I had something to do in the morning. I did that. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Came home, something awful happened to my wife. She was very upset, crying on the phone. That got me upset. Not that what happened got me, it did get me upset, but her being so upset got me more upset. And then I was like, you know what? It's like 1 o'clock. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna take a ride. I'll take a ride and get something to eat. And I wasn't even really hungry. And I was like, you know what? I was gonna go to the Japanese buffet, but then that's just a lot of food and a lot of money, and I'm not doing that. I was like, oh, there's a new Dunkin' that they just opened not too far. Let me check that one out. Whoa, almost fell. So I went to the Dunkin'. It had been open like maybe a week or so. And the girl running the drive-through, I mean, she looked like she was about 8 years old. And she had no idea what she was doing. Like, it was obvious, like, this was one of her first days being on her own without being trained. I'm like, hey, can I get a frozen coffee with mocha and whipped cream? She's like, a frozen coffee? I'm like, yeah, it's on your menu. I get it all the time. All right, hold on. And then, like, it felt like 10 minutes passed. That's it, right? I said, no. You have cinnamon raisin bagels? Well, I don't know. So could you go check? Oh, 5 minutes goes by. She comes back. Yeah, we have three. I only need one. Could you put sausage, egg, and cheese on that cinnamon raisin bagel? Oh, okay. She's all that never dawned on her. Then I go to the window, and then she hands me my drink, and then she walks away. Then she comes back with my food, and I said, just so you know, I haven't paid for anything. Oh, thanks. Thinking I could have easily just driven away. I could have just walked away from all of this, But I didn't. I didn't do that. Mr. Frank said, Chad, did you get mad at Metallica for cutting their hair and thus sounded the death knell to mullets around the world? I lost interest in Metallica with the Black Album when every fucking jock and non-metalhead was Enter Sandman. It was the greatest song ever, heaviest song in the world. Blah blah. Shut up. Plus, we had been hitting the clubs for years, Frank, seeing Hades. You remember Hades? And one of their songs is basically the opening, the same exact opening as Enter Sandman. So everybody was automatically like pissed off at that. The real you're too honest, it would have eaten you alive. And then I got my sandwich, I got my drink. Windows down, 60 degrees. I did put a hoodie on because I knew I would drive around with the windows closed, and I knew I would be near the water. Then I took a super long drive down Hetcher Drive past the Redneck Beach and all that. It was open, but then I knew nobody was going to be on the beach. And I just drove around for like 2 hours trying to clear my head. It did not really help. Chad says it was a weird time, Mr. Frank. I think a lot of us were just tired of our own hair. I ended up cutting mine for the first time in several years. Yeah, by the time I was 23, so that was 1993, I had that bald spot in the back with a ponytail, and I was like, I don't want to be that guy. Dude, I don't want to be the guy, the bald guy with a ponytail. That is like the stupidest look ever, so I just shaved it all off. Mr. Frank says, F. Chaz says, but I'm with Armand. The death knell for me started with the Black Album. Not a fan, yeah. So now, like, I'm listening, as I'm driving around yesterday, for part of it, I'm listening to the Metallica channel on satellite radio. And they're playing like Don't Tread on Me from that album. I'm like, that's not a bad song. It's not Metallica, but that's not a bad song. Not a great Metallica song either. But anything they're playing from like after the Black Album on, I'm like, I don't really like any of these songs. Some of them are okay. There's some decent parts, but it's like they're a hard rock band, and James thinks he's like a great singer now. And I'm just like, yeah. Mr. Frank said, did you know Ted Poley drummed for Prophet? Yeah, of course I did. What's that song from them? Sound of a Breaking Heart? I had that. I had that CD. Those guys were good. I saw them in concert, not with Ted Poley in the band. I think Ted had already left and started doing the Danger stuff. But I saw Prophet at Club Benet on one of those 7 bands playing Club Benet kind of thing. Chad says, I respect a guy with a glorious skullet. Chad also says, hey you guys, the Accused AD is playing with Sanctuary. Remember Sanctuary? Yeah, I do remember Sanctuary. I had their demos. I think they had 2 demos out. I do remember Sanctuary. I remember the way they wrote their logo. Might have seen them in concert at some point too. Saw them a billion times at Birch Hill. Yeah. I was talking. So not the video I put up, but I did another video. I did a video about what did I just put up? It wasn't the zine one. I recorded 2 videos. I put up how I started writing the movie serializations one. I also recorded another one that'll probably be up Sunday or next Wednesday about zine culture in the 90s. That's the one that is not up yet. But in one of them, when I did the interview with Souls at Zero at Birch Hill. So I mentioned Birch Hill in that, which is fun. Chad says I saw Sanctuary in concert and had that tape with the evil preacher thing on the cover. Yeah, Sanctuary was one of those bands. Mr. Frank says, "Oh, I'm not sure why, but yeah, I got into that period in like the mid '80s. When I was doing tape trading, I was getting all of those cassettes from all of those bands, and then like Metal Blade Records was signing them or somebody like that, and then I was buying the albums based on the covers, you know, like all kinds of different bands that I'm like, I would go home and listen to them. I'm like, oh, they got giant metal attack grasshoppers on the cover. I'm buying this. Oh, Sirith Ungol. I'm buying this. I was buying like all of them. I remember buying the Betsy Bitch's band because her on it with her boobs sticking out on the cover. I'm like, I gotta buy this. And then listening to a lot of those albums and going, these albums are awful. I will never listen to this album again. You know another band I did not like? And my buddy Tommy Decavanis, we used to call him Tommy Destruction, he loved Hyrax. Absolutely loved those guys. And I'm like, I don't like these guys. I was also not a fan of Possessed. Death Angel, not a fan. A lot of those bands. What was the band that did the song for Howard Stern? Fifth Angel. Was another one of those bands. There's like 10 billion bands. Chad says that's how I got turned on to The Accused, the cover. I was 17 and saw Martha Splatterhead and her giant boobs in the cover, bought it and fell in love. Yep. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you see an album like that and you get lucky. Mr. Frank just makes another innocuous comment. Eow. Not sure what conversation Mr. Frank is in. I remember picking up the first Lizzie Borden, the Give 'Em the Axe EP. I'm like, this looks pretty cool. Loved it. But then there's other bands I saw in concert. Like, I think me and Frank talked about this not too long. Jet Boy opening up for Kicks. I saw them like 3 times in a week and loved them. Went and picked up the cassette and still a Jet Boy fan. Chad says, you don't like newer Death Angel either? I don't think I've even heard newer Death Angel. Forget them. They weren't good back then. Death Angel is the one band that sounds better now than they used to. Same with Testament. Testament is, I love Testament back then, but there are certain songs that I've heard over the last, say, 10, 15 years that I thought they were a great heavy band then, but they've gotten even better. So I agree with the Testament one, that they've gotten even better. Some of my favorite Testament songs are like newer songs. Death Angel, no, I just really not into it. Chad says, one other impulse buy I made was a band called Lords of the Crimson Alliance. And to this day, I think I'm the only person who's ever even heard of them. Yeah, I've never heard of that band. Never heard of them. I remember back in the day, all the hype was on Circus of Power. They were going to be the next big thing, and on and on and on. And then I bought that cassette, and I was like, yeah, this is not really. This is not really great. Not really, not really great at all. What was the other one I really, really loved though? I can't think of. It'll come to me. There were like so many. Like I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back in time just to see. I had that glorious wall in my bedroom of bootleg cassettes and all the original demos I had, not the ones that were copied. I had a whole section of just the original ones. You know, like No Life to Leather. I bought the cassette in Route 18 Flea Market. John and Marcia Zazula when they were running that. The first couple of Anthrax cassettes, literally up there when Scotty Ian is hanging around over there. I don't know who this long-haired little Jew kid is. He's Jewish, and but he seemed cool. And I bought their cassette. I bought a bunch of different things like that. Warrior Soul. That was the other one I bought. I'm like, somebody was like, "Hey, these guys are pretty good." I mean, it turned out really to be a guy, but I'm like, you know what? I like this. Good stuff. 61 degrees and cloudy here. I'm reading. Chad, do you read Eric Pruitt? I'm reading Dirtbags by Eric Pruitt right now as one of my January reads. Pretty good. Very, very nihilistic and dark. What's that metal comp that came out in the 80s that had the band with the chick singer being whipped on it? Never read Eric. Eric is pretty good. If you like C.W. Blackwell, if you like, it's a rock in a hard place publishing release. And any of the short stories I've ever read by Eric is pretty good. So Frank said I'm still on Dungeon Crawler Carl. That's a big one. That's a big one right now. Mr. Frank says the singer is getting whipped. I don't know. The problem is there was about, I don't know, 87 billion metal comps back then. Chad says being whipped as in on the recording of the song. It had this breakdown with her moaning in pleasure while being whipped. The song was something like Live by the Whip or something stupid like that. Mr. Frank says Spinal Tap, smell the glow. Was it was it was it bitch? I believe she gets whipped, supposedly whipped in one of their songs. Yeah. Not a great band. Where there's a whip, there's a way by Faster Pussycat. I love that. I love that song. Ignore that comma. Yeah, I bought the bitch album just because of her on the cover with the whip over her shoulder and a boob sticking out in all leather. Look. Yeah, let me know what song that is. And then they toured with Lizzie Borden. They were both on Metal Blade together. But when they came to Mingles in Sayreville, Lizzie Borden just had a couple of crappy local bands opening for her. And then she became Betsy because then she wanted to go. She wanted to go more commercial with her sound. That didn't work. Betsy Weiss was her name. Classic. Miss Frank says, remember when you could go to like a Sam Goody and you could just pick out whatever songs you wanted and put them on a tape? I put bitch covering bitch, bitch us back. Bitch is back. Sam Goody, yeah. That was you get all the best songs that way, all the singles. Miss Frank says, I was in junior high. That was my vibe. Chad says, okay, it is bitch. The song is called Live for the Whip. And the beginning is a total bread fan ripoff. It's off from Metal Massacre 1. Oh, okay. Yeah. Those Metal Massacre cassettes were great. The first time I heard Overkill's version of covering Sonic Reducer on one of those. So many of those bands. I mean, so many of those bands you never heard of again. I'm gonna look that up. So they break them down. First Metal Massacre, 1982. People are going to watch it. They're like, "Oh, great! We're talking about heavy metal from 90 years ago." Steeler, Bitch, Malice, Rat, Avatar, Seereth Uncle, Demon Flight, Pandemonium, Malice, and then Metallica with two T's, two L's. Hit the Lights. Some good stuff there. I remember I know I definitely bought the Seereth Ungle. Fun fact, Metal Massacre evolved into, now that's what I call music, Mr. Frank says. Yeah, 100%, obviously. What do we have on volume 2? So the second one came out also in 82. Armored Saint, Lesson Well Learned. Their very first recording. Third Stage Alert, Surgical Steel. That was another crappy band that I bought their album. Obsession, Savage Grace, Overkill. But not the Overkill. Decent hardcore metal crossover later changed their name to Overkill LA for obvious reasons. Warlord, their song Lucifer's Hammer. I mean, it's got it. That's got to have that title. Trauma, which is Cliff Burton, the only recording of that he ever did with Trauma. Dietrich, Molten Leather. What an awful name. Hike Sauce. It says horrible vocals ruin this otherwise enjoyable 70s Judas Priest style song. And Aloha. Okay. Let's look at the third one. Sister. Oh, yeah, remember Sister? The third one was 83, Slayer, Aggressive Perfector. That's the original version. Bitch, Riding in Thunder. Tyrant. I remember I bought those guys, their album too. Very, very Judas Priest, I remember. Medusa, Test Pattern, Black Widow. Black Widow's song was Blitzkrieg. Excellent instrumental, but sadly no other releases. Warlord, Virgin Steel. Remember them? They were like Man of War Light. Sexist, Snow White. They were that was the with the chick singing for them. Then they changed into Snow White and then into Cyclone Temple. That first Cyclone Temple albums, Probably still one of my favorite albums of all time. I Hate, Therefore I Am. Marauder and L'Amour. Let's go to 4. London. Remember London? But London was like the band that had every musician in LA in it at one time. So Metal Massacre 4, also in 83. Sacred Blade, Death Dealer, Trouble. I'm not a big doom metal fan. Scepter, Zoetrope, Warcry, Abattoir. I did buy their album. Witch Slayer, Lizzie Borden, Rod of Iron. The first release is the early demo version of their epic masterpiece. I'm still a big Lizzie Borden fan. August Red Moon, Thrust, Medieval. Tigers of Pantang. Well, Tigers of Pantang, they were around for like forever. John Sykes was in that band for a long time. Chad says, remember Crimson Glory with the masks? I don't think I ever even heard them. I just couldn't take it serious enough. They were basically like Queensryche Light, which is why the singer at some point had joined Queensryche. Yeah, Circus of Power. Dude, Trouble is hardly doom metal. Give Trouble a shot. I've heard a bunch of their songs and they're boring. Boring. Ring of Boar. I don't know. All right, let's go to Metal Massacre 5 since we're 1984. Omen. Voivod. I was never really a big Voivod. They were just too weird for me. Attacker. I believe I had that album. Future Tense. Overkill, which is Death Rider on that one. Fate's Warning. They were all right. Metal Church. I was a big Metal Church fan back in the day. They opened up for Metallica when I saw them at the Capitol Theater in Passaic. Lethal Sin, LETHYLSYNN, with their song Destroyer. Final Warning. Hellhammer, which is obviously Tom G. Warrior stuff. Mace and Jesters of Destiny. Ooh. You heard the wrong songs then. No, I've heard a bunch of their songs. My buddy Doug Ward loved them. He used to play them all the time. And I was like, do they have a good song that's not going to put me to sleep? Also, I never did drugs in my life. I feel like that's one of those bands you got to take drugs in order to appreciate. They were a Gene Simmons band. Opinion on Stranger Things, Delta Talib 85. No opinion at all. I have not seen this last season, and I don't know if I ever will. That's my opinion. Not interested. Gene Simmons signed terrible bands. Yes. Chad says, I had a hard time getting into Voivod too, but I've tried several times, including just 2 weeks ago. I'm just not, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of theirs. It's just weird just to be weird. I think that's what bothers me. Jesters of Destiny is very 80s band sounding. Yeah, right? Let's see what what were we on? We were on 6. So 6 is from 85. Possessed. I was never a fan of theirs. Nasty Savage. I had their demo. Steel Assassin. Mayhem. Hades from Jersey. Hallows Eve. I've had their they had those covers with the executioners on them. Hyrax, never a fan of theirs. Pathfinder. Dark Angel, also never a big fan. The Obsessed and Martyr. It sounds like you're confusing Trouble with Sleep. No, I don't like Trouble. Stop trying to get me to like bands I don't like. Metal Massacre 7 in 86. Heretic, Sentinel Beast, Flotsam and Jetsam, or as that guy said years and years ago when we were in the record store in Hazlet, New Jersey, he's like, you got that Fleetism and Jettism album? He also called the Yngwie Malmsteen album Triology instead of Trilogy. As Frank said, I'm wrong. House of Lords is a Simmons band, not Crimson Glory. Both bands were equally pompous. Yeah. Yeah, House of Lords was very pompous, but they had some good songs. They weren't bad at all. Also, what was the other band? Hold On to 18 band. That was also a Gene Simmons band. You know, where he stole the guitar player. Where am I? Flotsam and Jetsam, Crank with a K, Madman, Detente, Commander, Juggernaut, Cryptic Slaughter. Man, I loved Cryptic Slaughter back in the day. Man, those guys were great. I knew a guy, Joe Christopher was his name, from South Jersey, who was pen pals with the singer from Cryptic Slaughter. And I was doing tape trading, and at one point I had like 30 or more rehearsals from Cryptic Slaughter when they used to record all their rehearsals. And man, I wish I still had all those cassettes, because they would play like crazy covers. They would just like play random songs all the time. Like, you know, rehearsal be like, hey, I just heard the new DRI song. Let's try to play it, you know, kind of thing. Have Mercy, Titanic, and Lost Horizon. Now we get into Metal Massacre 8 and 87. Sacred Reich, they had some good songs. Sacred Reich had some good songs. They also had some really bad songs. Viking, Overlord, Fatal Violence, Tactics, Sanctum, Gargoyle, Ripper, ESP, War God, LSN, and Cobalt Blue. If there's any other bands here that Toxic with a K, Red Rum. I mean, all these bands all just sounds the same. Slaughter, not the glam metal band, the band from, I believe, from Canada. Spud Monsters, Harem Scarum, Chemikill, Pissed On. Just a lot of just really bad. And I guess they put out 13 in 2006 with Celador, The Black Dahlia Murder, 6 Feet Under, Bolt Thrower, God Dethroned, Amon Amarth, The Pursuit of Vikings song. I like that song. Machine Made God. And then 2016, they put out another one. I never heard of any of these bands, but it's 2016, so I doubt I would have heard any Corsair, or Visigoth, or Raven Cult, or Crypt Sermon, Stone Dagger. Chad says the singer who replaced Blaine in The Accused for one album has been touring as Cryptic Slaughter singer. Ah, nice. As Frank says, we're really getting into the weeds now. As Frank says, I saw Pissed On live. Yeah, they were the same management as Carnivore and then Typo Negative. And it was a chick was the bass player. She was actually pretty cute. I flirted with her one time. I mean, I tried to flirt. She wanted nothing to do with me. That was at, I believe that was at Birch Hill. They opened, Pissed On opened, Mass Psychosis opened for Pissed On, and I forget what the main band was. They opened for Queensryche and sound exactly like Typo. Yeah, pretty much. Typo, I'm gonna go check out Pissed On. I believe they are. I know they have the same management for a long time, and I want to say somebody went back and forth between the two bands or something like that. And at the time, I thought the bass player, she was cute. I believe she was the bass player. So 2021, they put out another Metal Massacre. Never heard of any of these bands. You ever hear of Mother of Graves, or Rude, or Ripped to Shreds, Fuming Mouth, Poison Ruin, Midnight? Any of those? Anything? No, me neither. That was really just a long waste of time. The Piston, they even, I guess they had an album out. You guys looking forward to the new Down? No. Never, again, never a fan. I saw them opening for, fuck, who did I see them opening for? I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. I prefer Down over Pantera. Well, that's a hard take, my friend. Chad, check out Gray Flap by Piston. I like that tune. I'm trying to think who they opened for. Anyway, I saw them at Obsessions in Randolph, New Jersey back in the day. But they opened for somebody. That's Chad, please. You should be ashamed. You should be very ashamed of yourself. Man, it's getting dark out there. Too dark to see. Put the light on. Ms. Frank he's lost on that. He has no idea what that means. Don't look that up. But you definitely know what it means. You definitely know what that means. You can't beat those first three. I call them the first three Pantera albums, from Cowboys from Hell on. Mr. Frank. I did get to the next page, so if Nick is on, I'm on the next page. Mr. Frank said, Nick, who is the whole reason you're starting at noon? Now missed the whole hour. Exactly. So why am I starting at noon if the guy can't even jump in and hang out with me? I'm so angry right now. I'm so angry, but then I'm having a better day today than yesterday, obviously, and I also had coconut shrimp for lunch. It was like 8 or 9 coconut shrimp in the air fryer at 370 for 8 minutes, and they had a packet of orange marmalade. So the house has been kind of smelly the last couple of days. Where like I take the garbage out, there's got to be something dead in the refrigerator. It just smells. So I put my coconut shrimp in the air fryer. I take the frozen orange marmalade, squeeze it into a little thing, and I open up the microwave. And what's in the microwave? thawed chicken from about 5 days ago. And it is disgusting. It like smacks me in the face like, holy shit. That's what's been smelling in this house. Apparently, one of the days when my wife was supposed to spend, like over the week, like Friday night or Saturday, she was supposed to spend it at her aunt's because her aunt had fallen. And then she ended up coming home. So I did not make the chicken. And I just left it in there like an idiot. And it was gross. So I threw it in the garbage. And then I sprayed some Lysol. Then I left the microwave open for like half an hour. Yeah. It was like, so, oh my God. It was like, I was gagging. It was so gross. I immediately took the garbage, even though I just started a garbage bag last night. I'm like, this is just going out. This is going outside. This is going to the garage. Brought it out. I put the fan in the kitchen, one of the fans to blow it around. All the windows are open now. I mean, it is ridiculous how gross that was. And I sprayed the inside of the microwave, left it open. Then I had to wipe it all down, and then I had my orange marmalade. Heated that for 31 seconds. That coconut shrimp, pretty good. I hope my wife buys that. Hello from France. Oui, oui. That's all the French I know. What time is it in France? It is 1:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. Raw potatoes can reek pretty bad too. Yeah. Yeah, those also get pretty gross. Parfait the oui, oui. Same time, 19 hours 11. So it is 7-Eleven, like the store. Well, welcome in. I'm getting some writing in, but mostly I'm just talking about random things. Right now we're talking about rotting chicken. So but I'm like, at least now I know what smelled in the house. That was pretty gross. Tonight I'm supposed to take my wife out to dinner. No idea where she wants to go. My tutor, she always goes, where do you want to go? I said, you know where I want to go. I want to go to the Chinese buffet, or I want to go get pizza. And she's like, well, I don't want those things. And I'm like, well, then you tell me where we're going. That's easy enough. We haven't eaten out in a couple of weeks, which is good. So we're going to go and find some food somewhere. Hopefully. Guess I got to put on a pair of jeans since it's going to be cold and a freezing tonight. It's 61 degrees right now. Brr. Does feel nice. I got all the windows open. The cats are going nuts, running from window to window, like they've never smelled anything from outside before. I'm sure they were like, "Hey, thanks for finally throwing out the effing chicken that's been rotting up there." My nose itches. I still have coffee though. Oh, there's Nick. I'm writing a Roman. You read it. Would you read it? Beginning. Sorry for my English. Not a problem. If it's romance, I'm not I don't read romance. I'm not a fan at all. Nick, I started at noon like an hour ago for you. You should record these so I can. It is recorded, Nick. They are recorded. You need to watch them. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I'm not really not really big on reading other people's work until it's completed. I don't do blurbs anymore. Mr. Frank says, Dream Dream Theater 74. I like used guys fries. Yeah, they are delicious fries. In France, they don't call them French fries; they just call them fries. But when can I see them on the local TV VHS tape copy? Nick, Nick, I'm not in the mood today. I watched the episode of Oak Island last night. They found hardly anything as usual. I'm like, why am I watching 12 seasons of this garbage? Miss Frank says, I can believe Nick wasn't here when you found the treasure. Nick says, did they find a chain? Yes, it was the episode where they found a chain. That was the thing they found. They found like 3 links to an old chain. And I like when they find something like that because they're immediate like, well, this chain held up a treasure chest. Like, or it was just a chain. Somebody was walking around with a chain and they dropped the chain. I'll tell you what happened in the 1700s, 1600s. People lost a lot of stuff. Like, I would have to imagine that once we got into like the 1800s, people were like, maybe we should make better pockets. Maybe we should make pockets without holes on the bottom. Is it a chain from the Templars? No. You would be so wrong. It is. They think it's a chain from the Knights of Malta. A chain from a pirate treasure. No, Knights. We're into the Knights of Malta part of the season now. And then that Italian guy showed up and he talked about the Knights of Malta. We're definitely on the island, blah, 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 blah. I want to know how they're lining up, how the all these various, the Portuguese, the Knights of Templar, the Knights of Malta, all of them are lining up these rocks to line up with the stars. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Malta is right by Canada, Nick says. Miss Frank says it was the aliens. No, wrong show. Miss Frank says Guillaume Malta. I don't even know where Malta is. The hell is Malta? I'm gonna look that up right now. It's a country in Europe, but where? Looks to be an island. Oh, it's right off the coast of Sicily. Is it raining? It's raining. So here's my thing. When it gets a little heavier, I'm going to have to close the windows. I have to do a run around and close the windows. Rain expected to end this afternoon. It just started. A big smoking controversy. Sean Penn smoked inside the whatever awards it just was. Who cares? He's Sean Penn. Leave him alone. He looks really, really old. Poor bastard. I don't know. You have to watch this all back, Nick, because I talked about the Metal Massacre albums and every friggin' awful band that was on them. There was a heavy metal compilation from the 80s called Hell on Earth. And it was a hand. Cover was this hand with all the like this, and all the nails were cracked and it was bleeding. And it had, what did it have on that? Oh, it had Lack of Communication, the original version of Lack of Communication from Rat, which is a great song. Virgin Steel was on it. I doubt I can find it, but let me try. Here it is. Hell on Earth. Music for Nations put it out. So my uncle Ron bought this for me for like my birthday or Christmas or something. Manowar with Warlord. Rat. Oh, Rat was Sweet Cheater was on this. I don't know why I thought Lack of Communication was. That must have been on another one. Virgin Steel, Battle Axe. Metallica with Metal Militia. Rocks, ROX. Love You Like a Diamond, that song. Another Virgin Steel song, Danger Zone. Wonder if it's a cover. Talus, Sink Your Teeth Into That. Talus, I bought that album. Talus was Billy Sheehan's first band from Buffalo, New York. And they did the song on that Sink Your Teeth Into That album, Shy Boy, which David Lee Roth covered when Billy Sheehan played bass in the David Lee Roth band. A little trivia there for you. Also, Tank and Merciful Fate of the song Evil was on this. Yeah, I had this. That was a good. I thought that was a good one. I played the crap out of that one. And then the other one I played was the Sunday Matinee. It was a cassette only compilation of New York hardcore bands. It said New York hardcore bands, but they did have Bad Brains on it. I guess back when they were living in New York or something. I guess they counted them. So you had the Cro-Mags. You had Underdog. You had Youth of Today. You had Crucial Youth. You had all those bands. Dog Eat Dog. Classic. All right. I'm going to write a couple more lines on here. You also, Nick, you also missed when I got to a next page. Oh, just awful. I feel like when I'm done writing, I'm going to have to close the windows because I really want to take a nap, get some reading in, read more of this Eric Pruitt book. But I don't want the rain to get heavy and then get a little bit of wind and then all of a sudden it floods the house. Though I might just keep writing when I'm done and then listen to some early 80s heavy metal bands that I've forgotten about that we just mentioned. What did they find Jimmy Hoffa on Oak Island? You mean like just hanging around? Like they go to lot 7 and it's like, what is this little house? And then they knock on the door and Jimmy Hoffa opens and he's like, would you like some coffee? I'm going to tell you where Jimmy Hoffa is. You ready? Jimmy Hoffa was tossed in a what do you call it, and killed. Jimmy Hoffa was killed, and then his body was burned. You will never ever find Jimmy Hoffa buried under a boulder in stakes. Nick says, "Yeah, that's the other thing they keep finding on Oak Island. These 8-sided stakes." I'm like, does any of this have to do with the treasure, or is this just like people just living on the island? You just don't know. Everything is a new clue, a new this or that. I like how they're trying to gussy up the chick in the building there. The first couple seasons, like her hair was a mess, no makeup. She looked like all clothes were all ratty, and now she's like, oh, let's lose a couple pounds. Let's put some makeup on. Let's put some pair of tight jeans on you and some nice clothes. I'm sure Marty's son's going to try to have sex with her like he did that blonde chick who's not on the show anymore. She wasn't on last season. What was her name? Emma Culligan? Yeah, she was on. They keep changing out the other ones. Remember there was forget her name, like 2 seasons ago, she was working with the people who were digging one little grain of dirt at a time. She was off the show. She had a cancer scare right after the show, so she did not come back. Veruca Salt, Mr. Frank says. Yes. Veruca, darling. Nick asked, did the island curse her with cancer? You know what? Maybe. I think she's suing the island. Nick said, stop her. Yep, it stopped her from finding the treasure. She was literally right there. I liked her. She was a big girl. Mr. Frank says, still no news on a new season of Skinwalker Ranch? Yeah. What's going on with that? Skinwalker Ranch news. A lot of old stuff from a year ago or more. What was the last season? 6? Let's see, season 7. I see nothing. But they those didn't come out until June and July. So, and I doubt we're going to see any more of the Blind Frog Ranch since the son is currently in prison for killing his cellmate. So I'm sure that show is just done. As Frank says, I need a show to be obsessed with getting angry at. Yeah, me too. Nick asks, how was the new Expedition X? The new episode comes out tonight. So far, this season, pretty good. We had Jack Osborne on for no reason in one episode. And you could tell he was getting a little annoyed at Heather which I like. He was like, let's bring out the dowsing rods. She's like, okay, that's a good idea. And then something, and then she's talking, and then he's like, he's just staring, and he goes, how about the dowsing rods? Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, let me go get them. And then he kind of like looks at the camera for a second. No Dragon, no show. Yeah, I hope Dragon comes back this season. No Roger, no rerun, no rant. God, one of the greatest episodes ever. Me and my brother would basically walk around the house for weeks after that, saying that. A classic, just a classic episode. That episode and the one with the Doobie Brothers when they bootlegged the concert, and they said, "Which Doobie you be?" Just classic. Which Doobie you be? And then the neighbor with the I think he was Japanese or Chinese. He said, "You react exactly." He said, "No Raja, no rerun, no rant," and then everybody just cheered. Maybe that was a little racist. I apologize for that one, but that was literally the show. That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff right there. You know what I'm saying? Good stuff. Dave Strink is back. How is the writing going? It's going. It's not going super fast because I'm going to be honest with you. I've been talking a lot, but I got about 1,000 words in the last hour and a half, so not bad. Not great either. Do some adding on my calculator. Ooh, that's a little cold breeze coming in now. Ms. Frank says now that guy would be canceled for talking like an Asian man, even though he was an Asian man. Mr. Frank says, welcome back. David says, that is more than me today. I'm about 800 words today. Plenty of time, though. Plenty of time. Time is on my side. Yes, it is. I do got to write some more, though, today. Definitely need to do that. For instance, especially because he's Asian, he should know better. Yeah, he should know better than talking like what is culturally appropriate. You know, they didn't give a crap in the 80s about any of that stuff. Nobody complained. Like people will complain that I basically talked like him, but it's to show that that's how I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do and not do anymore. I mean, who knows what the anything is? Running through some emails real quick. Make sure there's nothing that I need to do. Tomorrow I'll probably be on. I'm going to be honest with you. Tomorrow I probably will be on. It might not be a 2-hour session. I might only be on at like 1:00 since Nick's not going to be on at friggin' 12:00 anyway. What's even the point at this point? Ooh, coconut shrimp. Ms. Frank says, now who wants to order from City Walk? We have Walk and Roll down here and a million other places. David says, I try to do at least 1,000 words a day, the idea being to finish a first draft in 6 to 7 months. I stopped watching Stranger Things after season 3. I really liked the first season, and then it just got progressively boring from there. So me and my wife were like, yeah, I guess we'll watch this season, but there's no rush for it. Nick Zinn says that's fair. Mr. Frank says everyone gets canceled always. Mr. Frank also says, appreciate your honesty, such a lonely word. I would sing the next line, but then YouTube will go, yeah, we got a problem with this. Now I'm gonna have that song in my head. One of my favorite Billy Idol songs, though. See what I did there? Nick Zinn says, City Walk a little too far in the heart of Colorado for a pickup. Wow. Ms. Frank says, I'm opening up my own Chinese place. It's going to be called Walkin' with Dockin'. You have George Lynch. He probably wouldn't show up. Mick Brown will show up for the grand opening. Cut the ribbon with a giant Dockin' pair of Dockin' scissors. I don't know what Dockin' scissors would be. I saw a video of some guy who's like, he always shows maps. And I think I'm going to say this, and I'm probably getting this wrong. Wisconsin is one of like 5 states where it's legal to own a tiger, a lion or a tiger. It's legal to own a tiger. Let me look at that up. Is it legal to own a tiger in Wisconsin? Come on. No. What animals are you not allowed to? Is it legal to own a bear in Wisconsin? Yes. You just have to have a captive wild animal farm license. Nick said, you need a tiger. I got a guy. Raccoon. Got a guy. Ms. Frank says, oh, Map Guy. Yeah, Map Guy. He actually lives here in Jacksonville. The Map Guy. Ms. Frank says, Tiger King. Panda Express. Got you a hookup. I don't like Panda Express. Exotic animals that are legal to own in Wisconsin. I don't care about all this. Just tell me what animals. Just give me a list. I hate when they're like, the state of Wisconsin has no restrictions or permits required for having a kangaroo. Nick, you can own a kangaroo. A coati, also legal. They're kind of like a raccoon that's found in Central and South America. Skunks. In some cases, permits are required for a skunk in Wisconsin. They are legal to own in the Badger State, but why would you want one? Most owners have them descented. You're allowed to certain species of fox. Sugar gliders. The hell's a sugar glider? Wolves or wolf hybrid. Wisconsin doesn't have any laws on the books prohibiting having a wolf. Ms. Frank says it's legal to own a bear, but not a person. That's some BS. Nick says we all travel by kangaroo in winter. My mom had a pet skunk. Why? Why? Capybaras. You know them. They have in St. Augustine down here. They have a capybara cafe where you go in and you have coffee and treats, and the capybaras are in the restaurant with you, and they come over and sit with you. And my daughter's like, "I want to go." I'm like, "Go." I'm not going to that. That sounds disgusting. That place stinks, I'm sure. Nick says they were selling sugar gliders at a camper show. No joke. Well, you could have bought one. Mr. Frank says flying squirrel is a sugar glider. Nick says, don't tell my girlfriend she loves capybaras. Yeah, my daughter too. I don't get it. Primates. In Wisconsin, there are no statewide laws stopping you from having a primate. Okay, so you can own reptiles. You can own an alligator. A lot of people actually get alligators and crocodiles when they are young and small, but they quickly grow to an unmanageable size. Also says, I would imagine your home insurance agent won't be happy if you have one. Yeah, so tigers, Wisconsin doesn't have any statewide laws preventing you from having one. Someone called Joe Exotic. Owning a bear is legal in Wisconsin, at least at the state level. City and county ordinances may have something else to say about it. So there you go. You can own just about anything in Wisconsin. Nick says, need an RV and a sugar glider. Come to Wisconsin. Capybaras are the new narwhal. Yeah. Nick said, I knew of a bar that had a bear out back. I'm sure you did. That's interesting. That's all very, very interesting. Crazy interesting. Nick said, and so many beavers. I'm not touching that. All right. Oh, beavers. Stop raining. It rained like a little bit and it stopped. Hopefully it just stays dark and gloomy like this so I can go and sit and read and fall asleep. And then get dressed. Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, Nick says. Mr. Frank says J.C. Walsh hasn't drank in months because he heard it was illegal to own bears in Pennsylvania. Bears. Nick says high school mascot, a beaver. My high school mascot was a lion. Middletown North Lions. My junior high was the Bayshore Dolphins. Dolphin. All great animals. He said Bears. My school, the Raiders. Mr. Frank, Bombers. Go Bombers. Go Bombers. Rival school, the Ships. That's your mascot. Like a picture of a boat. Yeah. Oh no! Watch out with the ships. Oh my God! Here come the ships. Look at the wake they're creating. They're going to drown us all. Yep. Pirate versus boat. That's a, that's a rivalry, though. You know what I'm saying? They were like, "Hey, they're the Raiders. We can't be the pirates." Then it would be the same. Let's. What else can we be? We could be the buried treasure. We could be the treasure chest. We could be a ship. That's it. We're going to be the ships. It'd be better if the school was actually on a ship. It just docked in the middle of a lake. Mr. Frank says Sayreville was notorious for his B-52 bomber warehouses. When I think of bombers, obviously, what do I think? I think of Sayreville. I watch a lot of History Channel shows where they talk about Sayreville and all the bombs and bombers they created during World War I, II, and III. I read a lot about that. East Brunswick was the Bears. They all just seem so random, right? Nick says the city made ships and submarines and yet not called the subs. Yeah, it should be the submariners. They should be substandard, subspecies, subhumans. There's a lot of things you can use. Subcultures. The subjugations. Oh. The Alpha flights. You know what? I would go to that school. I'll be honest, it's getting a little chilly. It's now 60 degrees. Some wind kicking up. Mr. Frank says Sayreville did have a munitions plant during the war. That's where bombers come from. The more you know. And then the little rainbow goes by. I had no idea. Well, I went to Middletown North Lions because that's where lions were invented. In the lab. They were created in a lab in Middletown, New Jersey. So the more you know. I'm freezing. I'm glad I'm wearing these pants. Not pants. I'm wearing my sleeping pants. Anybody see my sleeping pants? Look at my sleeping pants. Ready? Check out my sleeping pants. It's got my wife's face on it. It says I love my wife. She bought these for Christmas, and then she's got a pair with my face on it, where her face is. All over the pants. This is the dress shirt I wore yesterday I had an interview. I had a thing I had to do. Then last night she came home and she's like, "Why are you wearing those?" But then I'm like, "Business, casual." Makes sense. Nick asks, is there a city where mascot is a skunk ape? I would imagine. Nick says, Shelly, you need Shelly all over my crotch, all over my buttocks. Ms. Frank says, fun fact, the current Sayreville Bombers logo depicts a fighter jet. What? Those Sayreville people are nuts. Nuts. They're smart. They would be like the Sayreville White Castles. Do like a sponsorship thing. And the White Castles are at the 10-yard line here at John Bon Jovi Stadium. This time out, it's sponsored by that guy who was on that TV show that went to this school, who was apparently short. Mr. Frank says, "Who said you can't go home?" Exactly. They just play that. They play that all during halftime, over and over and over, and just the opening part to Youth Gone Wild, as an homage to the Snake. He says, "Would the cheerleaders be dressed as Richie Sambora?" No, the cheerleaders would be chased by Richie Sambora, though, I'm sure. Although I don't think he looks like he can move around a lot anymore. BJ and the Bear. Yeah. Oh, Dulé. Yeah, Dulé. That guy. But Greg Evigan. He's at the games. Like, the coin flip for this game will be done by BJ and the Bear. But it's not really. I mean, the monkey's been dead for how long? Greg Evigan. I don't even know if he's still even alive. What's the last thing he was in? You know what I'm saying? Sheriff Lobo, too busy. Let's look up Greg Evigan. Wow, he looks old. 72 years old. You know what? He don't look that old for 72. 72 years old. Born South Amboy, New Jersey. 3 kids. He's been married to the same woman since 1979. He's known for BJ and the Bear, My Two Dads, Tech War, Pacific Palisades, and General Hospital. He's also in The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo. Was Greg Evigan on Reba? Yeah. Yeah, he was Bill Hayden. He was the handyman. Are Greg Evigan and Brianna Evigan related? You know it. That's his daughter. Oh, Amazon's here to give us a delivery. What is the delivery, I wonder? I'm sure it's not for me. Let's look up his Wikipedia. Whoa, Lobo. Wasn't Lobo Matlock or something? I don't even remember. His dad was he's born in South Amboy. His dad, Ralph, was an electrician. He was classically trained in piano and went on to play the organ and saxophone. As a teenager, he played in several rock bands. Evigan grew up in Sayreville, New Jersey, and attended Sayreville War Memorial High School, graduating in 1971, same year Frank was graduating. In 2007, he was inducted into the school's Alumni Hall of Fame for his contributions to the arts. Right next to that is Frank Edler's contribution to the arts. He basically has a book of exploding bears there. He graduated and immediately got the hell out of Sayreville. Let's see the last time he was in anything. He was in 2020. He was in The Christmas Listing. He played Herb Erickson in the movie. Television, his last man, he's had a lot of roles. He was 2018. He was in 911. He played 2 episodes as Roger. 2018, also General Hospital, Jim Harvey, 26 episodes. He was also on stage, Jesus Christ Superstar, Grease, and Mask. He played Gar in Mask. So there you go. There you go. I'm just going to guess he's not living in Sayreville anymore. He don't look bad for 72, though. I would have kicked him out of bed. Manimal or Matlock? I watched a lot of Matlock growing up. My mother loved watching Matlock. And Columbo. And now my mother-in-law watches Matlock and Columbo. Constantly. Because whatever channel they're on, they play like 400 episodes in a row. I'm going to go check the mail. I got to go see what this is. I'm sure it's not for me. And I was wrong. It is for me. So if I'm not doing an unboxing here, I'm going to do a separate video of unboxing for it, which I'll do later. I still have another package I still have to unbox. I'll go for a few more minutes. I'll go to the top of the hour or so. And such. Go through some of my emails again. I got my email down to like 4 the other day, 4 unread, only because they were short stories that are still hanging around out there. Nick says, separate video. I want a refund. Only here for that thing I didn't know was coming. Yeah, and maybe if you were here at, I don't know, at 12 o'clock like everybody else and not jump in at 1 o'clock, which is the reason I changed this. I don't know. Here's what I know. Not a lot. I don't really know a lot of things. It's like kind of raining. It's like drizzling. I don't know. Nick says, so it's an East Coast versus Midwest time zone fight you'd be looking for. I'm not looking for a fight. I'm just looking for people to do what they got to do. Let me look at my birthdays for today. My friend list. I don't know you. I think you're still alive. Courtney Diamond Gauron. The hell is that? Happy birthday, Mrs. Jeff. If that is your real name. Nick says, them's fighting words. Those are fighting words. I mean, if you want to, say things the right way. Ooh. This person posted they went to a place that makes cookies. Here's the problem. They all look delicious. I'm sure each cookie is like $1 or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather just buy a thing of Oreos and be done with it. And I'm getting a lot of stuff. Lots of stuff. I wonder what that book is. It feels like a book. The box is like a book box. I'm not going to open it until after when I post up. Like, isn't that a basketball term? Who the hell is yelling out there? Nick says almost 2 hours, 5 minutes away. We're going to do this. We're going to go all the way to the top. 4 minutes now. 4 minutes. Like New Year's without all the glam. You mean like New Year's with more of the glam? Wow. You are just rude. I like doing these 2 hours. You know what? I feel like Jay Wilburn. Remember Jay used to do like 3 hours of this crap? I'm like, you're nuts. Nick says favorite glam band. Exactly. Stop. Seafood pasta with shrimp and scallops. That seems so good. I'm going to make that. What event are we having in St. Augustine now? James Taylor. That guy's still alive. James Taylor's like 1,000 years old. You know what? Good for him. Good for him. I say good for you, James. New Jersey Dolls. Treasure version of the New York City version. I was never a big New York Dolls fan. Two minutes on the clock. Anybody got any last minute comments, questions, concerns? You got 2 minutes. Two minutes. I'm out of here. Where can I find Tang? I don't know if they still make Tang. Is it legal to drink Tang in this country anymore? I know a lot of laws have been passed lately, and I believe one of them had to do with Tang. As a kid growing up, we were too poor to even have Tang. No questions here. Oh, thank you, Dad. Appreciate you popping in. Back in. Nick says legal. Everything's legal in Wisconsin. You can own a friggin' capybara there. You can own anything. Those they just seem like giant rats that are gonna poop a lot, like a lot. Especially if like you feed them and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like feeding those things just seems like counterproductive. All right, we hit the 2 hour mark, people. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. And that 2 hours just flew by. Now I'm going to need everybody to rewatch it. Immediately go in and rewatch it. I would appreciate that. Nick, you got to watch like the first hour. We mentioned your name several hundred times. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. I got 2 unboxings to do. Maybe later today. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to go take a nap. I got some writing in. I'm happy with that. Let's see what else shakes out. I probably will be on tomorrow. Maybe not for 2 hours, but I will be on. I should be on tomorrow. And then definitely will be here for Positive Friday on Friday. That's Positive Friday. This weekend, I don't know because Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and that means my wife will be off from work. So maybe we'll Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday we'll do stuff. So I might not even be on Monday. We shall see. Maybe I'll do an episode with me and my wife. Oh, that would be fun, right? Bye, Nick. Bye, everybody. Thank you all for hanging out. Everybody who watches this afterwards, please hit the subscribe or resubscribe on Twitch, and please subscribe on YouTube and watch as many videos as is humanly possible on there. Not the shorts, the normal videos. Put them on in the background, just as background noise, or mute them. Just put them on. All right, everybody. I will talk to you all later.